Susan Body. I'm the Assistant Provost for Online and Continuing Education. Thank you and welcome to our play space, either virtually or in person, for exploring AI and AI resources. We have some VIPs in the room. Dr. Russell Ivey, the Provost, is also with us. Our partner in crime is Jason Ball. He's the CIO of this campus, and he's also in charge of the Office of Information Technology. So faculty supporting AI is a little corner of the AI response that we have. The rest of it is Jason. Jason, you want to say hello for a minute?
Good morning, and thank you, Julia. This is the beginning of our adventure here. Today is kicking off the AI Playground, which really came from an idea. I think that really started with Abigail and the instructional design. We started early, prior to the summer, and there's a series of things came out of that. The thing that we really have to call out the Center for Online and Continuing Education for is what we're seeing today, which is all the exercises that faculty will be able to play with and learn how possibly integrate this into curriculum. So in addition to that, the instructional technologies team and folks have been working hard to develop workshops in the first of a series this year. These are peer-to-peer workshops, so I encourage you to look into those and more to come. And as we progress in the term and next term, one of the things that we're going to work on is really the next step, which is to help faculty create their own team. Some are doing it already today, but how do we make that easier for the faculty to do? The thing they're interested in doing specifically engage with tutoring for a class. So whatever it might be, we're going to work with you to make that a little easier over this coming year. So looking forward to that. So again, thank you for all of those who showed up, and thank you for the hosting team and instructional technology. We worked so hard to bring.
Thank you, Jason.
And now, without further ado, Mr. Willie Freeman, he's our Associate Executive Director for Online. And every other Friday, we're going to have a presentation like the one that Willie is going to give you now with various members of our team. But Willie is going to give you a little preview of what you will see in the rest of this semester every couple of Fridays. And then we have Faculty Lounge Live, which is going to happen every other Monday. That's a virtual experience, and it's going to be one of our faculty who are going to talk about how they're using AI in their classes and share with you. And that'll be a live interactive thing. So if you're back at your desk and you're tuning in, you'll be able to ask questions live of that. So Willie Freeman, I know you have something very special to play with us today for AI, and we'll give it over to you.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Julie. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the world of what if. I want to thank all of you for coming out because, as you know, public speaking can be one of those things that makes people nervous. And this many familiar faces really puts me a lot more at ease. I feel like we're throwing a cookout and everyone showed up. So this is the playground. The reason we call it the world of what if is we ask the question that the Board of Governors and the Board of Trustees have asked. What if higher education was all about exploring the limits of what students, faculty, and staff can do with resources instead of without resources? What if we were able to move beyond our concern of how is this tool going to be used and move into the space of, you mean I have these tools that I can use? There are so many terrible things that can be done with a hammer, with a screwdriver. And there's so many wonderful things because you can actually help cure home insecurity and homelessness with them as well. Tools are tools. And there's a lot of mythology that goes around with artificial intelligence. Some people make it sound very scary. Some of it is actually scary. But the truth is, AI is a tool. And it's the wielder of the tool that determines where it goes next. One thing you're going to see through the presentation over the next 20 minutes or so is I'm going to show you different tools that are generative AI tools that you are able to use. And then we'll look at ways you can use those things. But keep in mind, it's not that AI does a thing. AI is the tool and you do the thing. So when we talk about what can be done, the video that I have playing here, this is from a tool called Runway. It's text to video generative AI. You describe a video you'd like to see, 5 to 10 seconds. And depending on the amount of detail, the point of reference you give it, it actually can create that for you. So imagine if you're teaching a class in criminal justice and you want to talk about what goes on in the courtroom. We can actually say we want to show a handheld camera scene moving down through the aisle to the front of the courtroom up to the bench. And it can create that for you. Imagine you're in the College of Science and you want to talk about what exactly do red blood cells look like in a healthy person versus someone who perhaps has been smoking for 20 years or who has an A1C that's so high that the blood cell is completely encapsulated in glucose. We can talk about these things, or you can actually create something that shows those things off. The more detail you give it, the better it can be. So with video, it's not that we're going to take it and create all of your lectures with it. Matter of fact, if you come to enough of our AI days, I really would like to challenge you to rethink lecture in general. I'd like us to look at how can we deliver the instruction that we want to deliver beyond I'm just talking to the camera like I'm on a local news show. There's so much more you can do. And if you have questions about it, come play with us and we will help you figure that out. Why do we call this the Plaiground? This is Florida Atlantic University's first AI playground. Why do we call it that? Because play is the absolute primary means of learning of every biological creature on this planet. When you look at little kittens and cats and they're playing, they're pouncing and they're practicing their hunting skills through play. When your puppies are being all rough and tumble, they're practicing their fighting skills through play. When your children go and completely wreck the bed because they want to help you make it up, for them it's fun, it's play. If we never told our children that chores were chores, those are the games they see us playing. We learn through safe experimentation. We learn through open experimentation. We learn through trial and error. We did not learn to walk by reading a book on it or taking a class on it the first time. What did we do? We saw that everybody else was standing up and walking around. So what did? We try to stand up, fall on our butt, try to stand up, fall on our butt, try to stand up, wobble a little bit. Everybody got excited. We got excited, fell on our butt. Stand up, wobble. You took a step and the crowd went wild. It's like you're watching a soccer game and go. You got excited and did what? Fell on your butt. So somehow we decided in life that adults and children are two different species. I don't think it's a conscious decision, but it's something we did. And I want us to help rectify that. If you're here, you are a professional in a higher education institution. That means whether faculty, staff, or administrator, you are a thought leader. You may not be aware you're a thought leader, so you may not feel like this is something you can do is lead thoughts. I want you to know if you are here, you are shaping the future of not just Boca Raton, not just Palm Beach County, not just Florida, but the country and the world. But Willie, that sounds like a very tall order. Well, if you take it as pressure, it is. But if you take it as play, it's a very fun order. And that's what we do. You are still a human being, whether you've ridden the planet around the sun twice, 40 times, 70 times. You didn't change from being someone who learns primarily through play. So this is a safe environment. The playground is a place you come in and you can use those magic words that I believe every higher education institution should revere. The magic words are, I don't know. I give you guys permission to say, I don't know. Because when you are unable to acknowledge that you don't know, you're unable to learn. How can we do deep learning if we think we already have everything? Is this disturbing? AI can be very disturbing. It's not even the elephant in the room because we're not pretending it isn't there. However, why not learn to use the tool and learn to use it in ways that are constructive and productive than just saying, that's a danger, I'm going to avoid it? Because by itself, it isn't evil. So let's take a look at a few things. We've talked a little bit here about the ability of video. What about graphics? There's a prompt on the bottom of the screen. It says, a motherboard with the sun setting over snow-covered mountains. For those of you online, it might not be big enough to see, so I want to make sure I read it out loud for you. But I typed in that prompt and it gave me these 4 images. As you see with these images, it's got a motherboard there, there's a sunset, and there are snow-covered mountains, which is exactly what I asked for. If I wanted more detail, I'd make the prompt longer and longer until I got what I was looking for. Why would I do this? Well, perhaps I'm teaching a computer engineering class. And in my computer engineering class, I say, welcome to the cold world of computer engineering. Our goal in this class is to learn to warm your minds and make malleable the ability to develop hardware the likes the world have never seen. Well, Willie, don't you think that's a little bit dramatic? No, I think it's a little bit engaging. I think when I changed from this voice to this voice, and I gave you my movie trailer voice, you stopped and listened a little more. We have students, undergrad and graduate, that we get up, we do our research, we dive into things that we're trying to make them learn, and then we come to the classroom and we hope they're engaged, right? What if you could create instructional materials that are pedagogically sound in a form that guarantees engagement or makes it more likely? If you're interested in exploring that, come play with us. If you're saying, I've seen AI, I've heard about it, people talk about it, but all the language is way up here. All I hear about it is we've got to get the policies right. All I've heard about it is we've got to work out how to stop the cheating. All I've heard about it is this is a danger, it's going to cost jobs. Number one, the things you heard are true statements. However, we are higher education. If we are not going to engage in what is cutting edge, what is the future, who is? Just the businesses out there? One of my favorite movies is from 2001, and the name of the movie was AI, Artificial Intelligence. And it was based on a book from the 60s about artificial intelligence. Family, we need to acknowledge that this has happened already. The company OpenAI, when they released ChatGPT, simply put it in our faces. If you've used Google to find something, you've used artificial intelligence. If Amazon has ever said, you bought this, we think you'll like this, or you bought something perishable or renewable, and it's like, hey, do you need another one now? You're using artificial intelligence. What ChatGPT did was strip away the business model on top of it from those private companies and show you the raw thing. And it captured our imaginations. It captured our minds and sometimes a little bit of our fear. Fear basically comes in 2 forms: trepidation about the unknown and aversion about the known. When you know what could happen and you don't want it to happen, like you were driving and the light went from yellow to red and you don't want to go through, that's not, I don't know what's going to happen. That's, I don't want to run the light and get into a wreck. That's aversion. Anxiety and trepidation about the unknown is when you're like, I don't know what's around that corner. It's kind of dark over there. Or I heard what sounded like a big dog barking while I was out on my walk, and I don't remember there being one in this neighborhood. Trepidation and anxiety about the unknown is cured by information. When you cure the ignorance, it eliminates the fear. That's how it works. What we want to do is give you an environment where you can come to us and say, this scares me. or say, this excites me, or say, I just want to know how this can save me time, or say, hey, I work here and I want to know what I can do with this to make it better. And we are here for that. When you look around and you see the players, those of us in the jerseys, we're here to help you. And even if you're not in the room physically, we are here to help you. You can write us online. You can reach out to us, and we will make the time and reach out to you from wherever you are. We want to meet you where you are. So we can create images for whatever it is. You can log in. Most of these tools, you can use them free up to a certain point. After that, there may be things where you get certain features when you pay for them. So we've talked about runway and text to video. We've talked now about text to imagery. Here's the thing. What if those images were created by AI and aren't of the quality you want? So there's a tool called Magnifique. The idea behind this tool is it takes an AI generated image that you give it and increases the resolution. So maybe you create an image you really like from giving it the prompts, and when you look at it, you say, well, it was good when it's only the size of a thumbnail. But when I need a big one for something, it's fuzzy. Notice this face. This is the before Magnifique. This is the after. I'll leave it in the middle. Can you tell the difference? In the flesh, the textures. Let's look at another image. AI has a tendency to really make skin fuzzy, a little rubbery, a little plastic. Just little subtle changes in the lighting, subtle changes in the texture. From here to here, this looks more like a real person. Do you guys see the difference here? Well, what if it's something illustrative? Here's what it created to start with. Look at that. And that's the increase. Generic, a little more textured, and a little more useful. Close-ups, because that was a big image. This is what that image looked like up close. When AI generates artwork, it's not always anatomically correct. What is going on with his eye? Magnifique says, this is what a face should look like. Before, after. This also works with audio tools. So I'm going to put an audio tool up. Let's go over and mic the computer for me, please, sir. There's a tool called Speechify. And Speechify allows you to do text to audio. So let's say you're teaching a class. I'll start with professors that may be teaching. And you have noticed when you give your students a project or assignment, a number of them make the exact same errors. And you want to give an announcement, you want to give feedback, and you feel like the feedback you're giving, I'm typing the same thing over and over and over and over. What if you just put an audio announcement in your course and said, okay, students, I noticed a lot of people are doing APA 6th edition. I want to remind you, we always say latest edition, and the current latest is 7. I noticed that I asked you for Turabian, you gave me Chicago. That's close, but you're not there yet. So I want everyone to go back. I'm going to give you another 48 hours. And I want you to go back and adjust your citations to meet what I asked you for. I'm preparing you in graduate school to be able to be publishers and academics. Attention to detail is everything. You say that one time, put it in the course, you're able to see that people listen to it. But let's say the issue is every time you record it, you have this thing that I have where if a mic gets close to my mouth fills up with water and spit, and I'm like, blah, 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 and I sound horrible. Like up here, I'm not aware there's a mic right here really, so I can talk to you. But if I sit at the computer, I'm like, keep in mind that if there's a mic right here, that's a thing for me. So I say, well, I'd rather just type it out and let the computer say it for me.
I'm Willie Freeman, and I'm excited to explore Earth's wonders with you. In this course, we'll cover everything from how mountains form to the basics of plate tectonics. You'll learn about rocks and the forces shaping our planet. With interactive lessons and real-world examples, you'll gain a solid understanding of geology's core concepts. Jump into the discussions and activities, and feel free to reach out with any questions. Let's get started and discover the amazing processes that make our Earth unique.
And then I could click download, and it would actually download that WAV file, that audio file, and I can put that in the course. Some of us, I'm from South Carolina. Most of my accent is gone because when I went to college, all my friends were from New York by way of Jamaica. And I started picking up, I don't talk like this like I do when I talk to my mom. And I don't say y'all as much as I used to. My dialect only comes out typically if I'm talking to someone from back home. However, that doesn't mean I'm not self-conscious about my accent. And depending on where you're from, if you're not at where you're from, you probably have an accent. If you're in Florida and you're from Long Island, you got an accent. If you're from Long Island and you're in Canada, you got an accent. So sometimes we go, I understand that it's normal. I understand what you're saying. I don't like my accent. Speechify, you can go pick 15 other accents. You can say, I wanted to speak English, but I wanted to speak English like a Canadian. I wanted to speak English like an Australian. I wanted to speak English like I'm in London right now. Most of these AI tools have a minimum of 60 languages that they can work with. It's not just you write and speak in English. So what if you're teaching a course and you say, well, I know because I actually connect with my students that a part of my class are native Spanish speakers. A part of my class speak Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin. What if you took your text and said, convert it to this language and put in one folder the different languages where they could listen? Because remember, we're here to help them get where they're going. I know most places that you would work outside of higher ed, we go, well, I'm just a working schmo. I go to work, I do my thing, I come home. If you're in this room, I challenge you to banish that attitude from working in higher ed. This is a mission. This is work that we're doing to better our society. This is not the place to come get a paycheck and go home. We are better than that. We are driven by something much more important. And I don't want you to lose sight of that. We've got something here for speech. You say, Willie, you talk a good game, but at the end of the day, I got to create new curriculum. But at the end of the day, my students don't always understand. And you showed me all these tools with visual and audio, but what about ChatGPT? What about the one everyone's talking about, Copilot and ChatGPT? Large language models. The idea here, and with most of these tools, frankly, is pretend you have an assistant who you're typing to, who's sitting next to you, that has access to every library on the planet, the entire internet, and has all the skills and zero experience. Don't forget that part. This is not a person. It is a chatbot. And this tool can save you time from what I call blank page syndrome. You're at your desk doing work, you just came back from class, you're over in IT, you're doing a thing, and then someone walks in and says, hey, I need you to put together a workshop on this. I want it to be 4 hours long and cover this particular topic. Someone give me a topic that you're a subject matter expert in. And remember, you are thought leaders, so don't go into the space of, I don't have anything I'm an expert in. Yes, you are.
Likely errors for Vietnamese speakers in English.
Likely errors for Vietnamese speakers in English.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Love it. All right. So for those of you online, I'm zooming in enough that I'm hoping you'll be able to read what I'm typing. I have to create we're going to say a 4-hour lesson. That way we can span it across a month with one a week. I'm going to say we're going to create a 4-hour course. 4 1-hour lessons, one per week, on likely errors for Vietnamese speakers. Likely, can you say it again for me? For those online, we want you to repeat it in the microphone.
Oh, it was likely errors for Vietnamese speakers in English.
Beautiful.
Likely errors for Vietnamese speakers in English.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The goal is
Great job.
to enable Vietnamese speakers to identify the most common errors they may make when speaking and writing in English and help them mitigate such issues. So does everyone understand what I'm asking ChatGPT to do? Yes? All right. Now, what I'm going to do now, I've told it what the problem I have is. The next thing I'm going to tell it is what I want it to do for me. Please create an outline for this course. Include assignments, assessments, reading, suggested reading materials, and suggested YouTube videos to assist the students. That sound good? Let's see what happens. Week 1, pronunciation challenges. You'll notice we have learning objectives, content, activities, assignments, assessment, suggested reading. Week 2, grammar pitfalls. Week 3, vocabulary and word choice issues. Do these sound useful at all to what we were speaking on? All right, now, here's the thing. When I tell you you're thought leaders, if you take, well, there's 2 things I want you to take away from our session. Number 1 is come play with us. Come here. Come see us, talk to us, work with us. Let's experiment. Let's do this hands-on. Get your hands dirty like you're going to in a few minutes. But number 2, these tools are not about replacing you. These tools are about you elevating what you do. Well, what I do is I come to work, I create lesson materials, I give these materials to students, students take that class, and then they make their grade, and then they move on, and you're telling me this can make my lesson materials, so what do I do now? Number 1, the reason you come and spend all your time making lesson materials is because otherwise you wouldn't have lesson materials. What if you made the lesson materials already? What could you do with students if you weren't spending all of your time making lesson materials? What if you could flip your classroom? Instead of them coming in and you going, let me tell you about the errors, what if that material was something they went home and watched videos and experimented with, and your class was the actual assessments? Your class was you actually speaking to your students, and you get up and demonstrate what the errors are and they have to find them. What if your lectures in a math class was not about teaching them all the formulas? What if your lectures in your math class is not about, do they know a squared plus b squared equals c squared? What if your math lectures were about, we are trying to get this rocket with these specs to make it through our atmosphere and into orbit. We need to know how much fuel, what location is the best to launch from, and I need you to justify every choice you make. Wouldn't that be more, a student who's able to do that be more interesting and marketable to NASA than a student who can pass an exam? What if instead of your class being about, I need you to memorize X, Y, and Z and regurgitate it, it's, I need you to take these things, and we're not just going to say, get into the microscope and look at the cells. Let's figure out why they look that way. What can be changed? How can things be improved? What if we as humans moved into focusing on competency and achievement instead of papers and tests? Well, Willie, that sounds good, but I don't have time to do that. Why? I don't have time to do that because I've spent all my time, doing all the things that you're telling me this can help me with. What if you actually could spend time with your students doing deep learning? What if the time with your students was engaging in the actual professional communities that you invited them to? Question.
Well, I cannot use ChatGPT much in my area. That the AI out there will not be able to help me in my classroom, I don't know for sure.
Being a mathematician, I'm not sure if the AI out there can help me in my classroom. Right now, since we don't know much about the class and how it's laid out, we don't know either. But that's the beautiful thing about I don't know. The best answer for that is come play with us. Walk in here, tell me what your class is, bring your syllabus, tell me your course objectives. Let's see what outcomes you want to accomplish, and let's talk about how to do that if you want to. My job isn't to convince you to do it. My job is if you decide you want to do it or you're curious about it, we're here. Yes, ma'am.
We have a live question from the playground.
Hi, Willie.
Hi.
Thank you for this. It's very informative. I have lots of comments. I think I came in here much less worried about what the people in this room are using AI for. We have all, I hope, already learned critical thinking skills. So plugging in, can you help me find a YouTube video for this? That's not a problem. I already learned what I need to know. I'm much more concerned with how inappropriately the students are using this tool.
Absolutely.
They can't think. They can't communicate. They can't even look you in the eyes because of this kind of stuff, right? And to me, from what I'm seeing right now, it's much more detrimental to our world for our future, as opposed to what's happening for people who already or had to go through regular ways of learning.
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting earlier when we were talking before this started, which is it's the new calculator, right? Yeah, in a way, except a calculator really only focused on one subject, which is math. This, and I think my concern is that if the students put in a prompt that I give them and ChatGPT spits out everything for you, and then like he mentioned, you then put it into, what did you say it was called? Jotbot, and say, humanize it, put this in my style. Awesome. What are the chances they're actually reading or learning from whatever ChatGPT just spit out? Because knowing this generation, they haven't read one sentence.
That is, first of all, it's a great question. That's something that your departments, if you're curious about it and you don't have time to bring everybody here, invite me out. And let's go sit in a room with a handful of laptops and let's explore together. So to answer briefly in a way that kind of covers everyone, we're talking about students cheating, one, and we're talking about indolence, students being lazy to the point of it being detrimental to them and everyone around them is two. Here's a recommendation for that. Now, it's a big shift for us. As a university, as educators, we would really first need to give some deep reflection on shifting the way we approach the design, development, and delivery of instruction away from grades and into competency. If students walk into your class and they're understanding from your syllabus, from the course description, and from the word language you choose and the type of assessments they have, that the point in that class is they're supposed to be able to do a thing to be successful in that class, and the grades are not an issue. It's not even a concept to worry about. There is a grade, but it's your grades are like socks. Your grades are like getting dressed in the morning. You get dressed every day when you come to work, I hope. But it's not the focus. You don't come to work because you got dressed. If we push it into they need to know how to do the thing, here's what happens. Cheating is the one way to guarantee they don't know how to do the thing. If we shift our assessments to be authentic assessments, if we move away from multiple choice tests, we move away from papers, unless the class is about papers, and move into, can you do this? Their performance becomes based on their ability to do what you are teaching. And in a single assignment, you tell them, I need you to write a paper analyzing this situation, evaluating this thing, and reviewing these articles. You know that they have ChatGPT already. You know they've got Copilot, they've got all of these tools. If you infuse it into the tool, get there in 1 second, Abigail, you can simply say, I want you to have written the paper yourself and give me the ChatGPT written paper. And the third part of this assignment is you telling me what it said that you didn't, what it missed that you didn't, why you think it said those things, why you didn't say those things. Because what we care about is not the paper, it's what's up here. It's more work for you because right now you're like, I did all of this and I got to figure this part out. That part, come play with us and we will help you develop all of that. You're not in this alone. When I said family, I wasn't just using I am from South Carolina, but I wasn't just using a Southern term. Like, y'all are my people. We are one group of people. We are a community of practitioners and learners who work together. This university is like a small village, and we all have roles to play. That's our role. I have a team of instructional designers. Their job is to design instruction. I believe the word design means problem solve. Question.
We do have another live question from the playground.
Hi, Willie. Thank you very much for a very motivating and enthusiastic talk. So I have a couple of comments, but a question as well, and I'm also related to the previous question. So the ethical aspect of AI. I did take the IQ course, which is using AI ethically. So today you are showing us another piece, which is not just how students will be using, but us professor will be using AI, right? So in my college, what I do is, for example, and we have many sections about this, is working with teachers how to assess, right? So we need to role model, and I need to role model. I feel I'm very responsible about these future professional skills of assessment skills, research skills, right? So if I was going to use, and I'm using a little bit of AI, kind of playing, but I also feel responsible that because I have to use it, they will need to use it for their kids. And there is a generational gap. They will probably be more exposed to AI than us because of that generational gap. So the question is, how much do we provide? How to quote, if we were going to use, say, this tool, this AI app, how to provide the reference within our curriculum, how to show them that we have to, references matter, right? We how to do that, and how much is too much. And this feels like a candy store. If you go to a candy store with a child, the child gets extremely excited and the parent gets very excited as well. You want to try every single candy.
Yes.
But that's not possible. So it's the same here. You're showing us very great apps, and maybe I want to try all of them, but I need to be realistic
Yes.
and focus on one or just a couple. So
So the question is, where's the line? I humbly submit that as faculty, that's between you, your chair, and the deans and administration. Those are your choices where that line is. You may decide not to do this at all. You may decide that you're whole hog all the way in. Anywhere in between. There's a spectrum there. But as with all tools, show of hands, how many of you have worked in K-12? Have any of you taught in K-12? Okay. You may remember the iPad phenomenon. There was a point where suddenly schools discovered that there was a such thing as an iPad. And they bought hundreds of them and handed them out to teachers and said, now you're going to use an iPad in your classroom. You're going to use an iPad in your class with no support, no guidance, no direction. And to this day, there are some schools that have a closet full of iPads because they saw it as a magic bullet. This is not a magic bullet. There's no such thing as a magic bullet. This is a tool. This is a screwdriver. This is a calculator. This is a combustible engine. Question?
What kind of AI skills should I be helping my students develop for careers post-graduation?
What type of AI skills should I help my students develop for careers post-graduation? Outside of if they're in the College of Engineering and Computer Science, it's not so much that they need to go major in AI. It's that businesses adopted this 35, 40 years ago. And the issue that is happening is we are producing students that are going into the workplace that it's the equivalent of saying they don't know how to use Microsoft Word. It's the equivalent of saying they're not familiar with email. They don't know how to text. It's not, we need chemistry AI professors to be teaching chemistry AI students to go out into the world of chemistry AI. It's not that at all. It's these things actually pick up and speed up some processes. And in the corporate world, if I'm paying you by the hour, and what used to take 40 hours, I have a stack of resumes on my desk. And one group of those resumes are like, I can do it and I can do it in 40 hours. And there's a stack of resumes with people who are like, I'm completely familiar with generative tools. I know how to use large language models. I can get that done in 8 hours. Fiscally, if I'm a publicly traded company, I have an obligation to my shareholders. Now, until we reach a point that we have legislation that can put limits on things, right now, a lot of AI stuff is running unchecked. Businesses are in the business of making profit. And in higher ed, some of us are all about workforce readiness. Some of us are not. We're about making well-rounded citizens. When they graduate, the skills they don't have may impact what they do next. This is not something that we're saying, please go fall in love with and use it in everything, everywhere. There is no magic bullet. But the one thing I want to make sure I make a point of as I close is we are here to help you if and when you decide this is something you want to incorporate and you decide the direction with which you want to incorporate it. So we have actually taken Dr. Kevin Yee from University of Central Florida. He made a book about AI-assisted assignments, and it had 61 prompts for assignments, where he says, you can make an assignment like this that does this thing. You can make an assignment like this that does this thing. My team took all of those, and they produced more than 60 actual assignments that if you want to actually just, I want to put one of these in my course, I want to experiment with it, they're all in Canvas Commons. And you can simply scroll through. If you search for AI Playground, they're all tagged with that. And you can find every last one of them in Canvas Commons. When you find one, when you click on it, there's a video explaining to you what the assignment is. And then there's the tasks, the instructions, resources, a rubric. You customize it to whatever you need, and you can put these in your course if it's something you want to do. You don't need to do it by yourself. Come to us. Yes, ma'am.
Do you get over to you very quickly so we can hear what you're saying? Thank you for asking another question.
Could you just comment on copyright issues? Because as an academic audience here, then I'm concerned about our use of materials that actually are sourced from people who've put time and effort and gone through an editorial process, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. The question
Great
is, can I
question.
comment on copyright of the materials? If you're doing generative AI with video or graphics from Adobe Firefly, all the material comes from Adobe stock, which the artists actually contribute and flag it as, please use this with your AI things. And then those artists get paid for their things. When you're using AI, you can always cite that this was generated, and almost every tool provides how you can do citations for it. As far as these items, my team who works for FAU built this on FAU's dime. These are for you to use. We got permission from Kevin Yee to write them based on his prompt, but each of his prompts was 2 or 3 sentences, a paragraph at most. This assignment, Florida Atlantic University created this for Florida Atlantic University's faculty to use for Florida Atlantic University students. So there is no intellectual property concern, and it's under Creative Commons. So the rest of the SUS, when they go into Canvas and go to the Commons, they can use it too. Other questions?
Where will I find information on tools and AI in general at FAU?
Whoever that is, tell them I'm going to slip them $20 when this is over. The question is, where will I find information about these tools and what I need to do? That's the perfect segue to the last thing I wanted to show y'all today. The Office of Information Technology has been so kind to lead the charge and do the pioneering of AI at FAU. And they built a site that is fau.edu/AI. Doesn't get any easier than that. When you go to this site, everything related to AI at FAU is here. There are not 4 or 5 random sites you've got to go over here for this group, over here. No, it's all right here. And there's areas for faculty, for students, overall university, for research. There's a glossary, there's a list of tools. All of those things are right here. Dr. Hindle, I believe you had a question?
Practical question.
I love practical questions.
Okay. As you said, most of these tools are available free to try.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done some extensive looking at several of these tools. I'm using PlayHT to do voice cloning.
Yeah.
So that it's my own voice doing the exact speech that you were doing, but using my voice rather than a canned voice.
Right.
The issue is all of these tools cost to use beyond just trying them out.
Right.
So where do we get support, funding support? So that application costs our department $350. Fortunately, I had a chair who was very, on board with this and stuff. And so she was able to come up with $350 out of her account. But if she has to start doing that for multiple faculty,
it becomes a challenge.
Where do we get funding for these tools once we decide to use them?
Can you pass that to Jason for me, please?
Thank you.
That's the best question of the day. All right. So this is what we're struggling with too, right? How do you democratize access to these tools out to every department so it's beyond the free? So it's one of the things on the tool site, it does tell you when you click on there, what I want to make a couple points here. What tools are free, what tools maybe pay, and what kind of data is safe to be used with those tools. Some of the tools like the Copilot for commercial data protection, I hate their name, is free for everyone. But we are, when we opened, I mentioned a statement about making GPTs, be able to make your own. We're looking at some on-prem solutions in our research computing cluster. We're looking at solutions to address those costs. So I would say more to come on that. Right now, we don't have a very good answer because it is expensive when you start doing things at scale. So I would say late fall, early spring, we're going to have better answers in place. We're studying it and trying to come up with the most optimal solutions for the university to try to contain costs at the same time, not limit to those who have money and those don't.
Great question.
Thank you, Dr. Paul.
Yes, sir.
We're here with another live question from the playground.
Okay, so say a student does have that blank page in their chat GPT, give me a couple paragraphs on this topic. The only tool I have available is through Turnitin for AI detection, but I don't know the algorithm, how it's looking or how it's detecting. My question is, how much do they have to change the, say, chat GPT output so that it doesn't get flagged by the AI detection tools? Because right now, like I'm reading through and I'm just picking up on words. Like, for example, one student kept using the word moxie and I knew right away, like, but if they would have just used the word Briz or something like that, like I would have just blown right by me. So that's my question is, if I encourage them to use it, tell them to, paraphrase from it, how much paraphrasing do they have to do to avoid detection?
So the
That's
question
me a
is,
question.
if you allow your students to use AI in your course, where's the line? How much do they need to change what they did? My recommendation, and I'm going to address the concern, but not exactly answer the question. My recommendation is if you're telling your student and you can let ChatGPT generate blah, 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 then that should be one of the submissions for that assignment. Break your assignment across. If it's normally you give them 3 weeks to put this paper together, then 3 days into that should be turn in your prompts and the results from ChatGPT. Now, give me the outline of what you're going to do based on what you said over there. Now, tell me how you're expanding on this, what you're constructing, and what you're going to do next. Now, give me the finished result. And you can see if they made any changes or not. And it causes them to have to take a more constructivist approach to the process to start with. That's one approach to tackle that. Number two, if what they're doing is you say, yes, you may do this, you want to make sure you have guidelines of to what extent you will allow and what your expectations are. Any other questions? I don't want to keep you guys too long. Let's make sure I did address it. Yes, sir.
Start from the beginning.
Thank you. So I have students who, after I provide a written assignment, will say, I don't get it. And after I explain it to them, they say, I still don't get it. I'm wondering how I would use this program to
help
me to send them to this AI, whatever it is, chat or whatever, so that it would alleviate my constant spending all these hours with students who say, I don't get it. So it's clearer.
Give me, what are one of your classes? What's the name of one of the classes you're doing this with?
Business communication.
All right.
Introduction to business communication.
So there's things in business communications the students don't get, and he's having to repeat it over and over and over. One of the things that you can do, an option, not an end-all be-all solution, is the concept that they're struggling with. You can ask ChatGPT to, let's say, business communication ethics. Can you explain number 8 to me as though I were 16 years old? And it will actually condescend the level of what it's talking about to someone who may not have any college experience. And when Jason said he's going to move you all to being able to build your own GPTs, one of the that's what you're getting ready to say.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'll let him say it. He'll say it better than I do.
Yeah, so that was the preview I gave again, is that, so maybe you want a business communication chatbot dedicated, a GPT that's just your course. So you can literally create, maybe point it to your canvases if everything's in there, but maybe you upload your own materials too for it to ingest into the model. And you may or may not want it to go out to the public large language models. That'll be your choice. So I think, the preview of what to come, the ability to build your own almost class tutors in these tools to help address some of those concerns.
Wouldn't it be better if you asked a student?
To go to ChatGPT with my directions in the assignment module and say, go to ChatGPT and see if you can figure it out, rather than my developing that for them. Syllabus that students may not use any form of AI. It's a syllabus that the dean, not the dean, the director is requiring. So how do I bypass that? What do you suggest to bypass that?
Thank you.
Yeah, but clearly we know we have 3 choices in our syllabi today. So that's definitely an interdepartmental decision, but we have 3 choices in the syllabi today of the, flexible in the middle, prohibited, or encouraged, right? Those are the 3 major choices. And so I would say that flexible is probably where you want to convince the department to go, because that means per assignment, I set expectations, right? And I clearly laid it out that I don't want you on this assignment to use it all, but you can, in this case, go out and get assistance from ChatGPT for this assignment. So that's what I would encourage.
Hi, my name is Jamie Allison. I love this. I'm a new faculty. Everything you're saying absolutely resonating. I just come from the business world, and there's a saying out there is that nobody's going to lose their job to AI. People are going to lose their job to people who don't know how to use AI. So absolutely, this is the right critical tools that we all need. I have a very, very practical question. Teaching a course about using AI to affect the outcome. It's a course about business innovation and product innovation. My practical question is, I love the fact that you've started a site where we can send students to go and find the tools that exist. But the tools are being birthed every day, every second. What are you using to actually curate and surface the right tools so we can actually have a really live and relevant site with all the tools that our students are going to need to actually do the assignments?
So the question, and we might both answer that question. Do you want to go first?
I was going to say, we depend a lot on you too, because it is coming from every direction. And so one of the things I encourage up front is to use the email that's on the website for the AI to forward things to us, to keep adding to it. We review it before we post it to see if is it pay, what is it secure, that sort of thing. So we'll review it first, but then we participate in conferences and peer pieces to get as much as we can. But you're right, by the minute there's something new.
That's pretty much what I was going to say as well. When you have things that are coming out and emerging, the cycle of new technology used to be, when I started working here, 18 months. There was a new version of Word, of Office, of whatever, about every year and a half. At this point, it's about 3 to 4 months that something completely disrupts everything. But it is nearly daily that something new comes out. So with our teams, because we're here to support you, we approach it as though it's something that we're fanatics about. So we're always looking and chatting with each other about things. But just because something emerged doesn't mean it's useful, doesn't mean it's effective, doesn't mean it's safe. So if you're going to follow a lead, it needs to be what OIT presents on that faculty site, saying, here are the tools that they've actually looked at to see. If you're curious and you just want to know what's out there, it's easy to find different sites that are always talking about what's emerging. But just because a tool came out, it's like a new medicine coming out. That doesn't mean you want to wash it down with water right away. Sometimes you want it to trial through. Another thing to keep you up to date is our tech events calendar. Instructional Technologies has tech events, techevents.fau.edu. All of the training opportunities, all of the sessions like this, all of the Faculty Lounge Live are listed on this calendar. Excuse me. And you're able to register for them. You're able to sign up and attend things. Every 2 weeks from today, we will have a simple activity and then an open session to discuss. Every Monday following that, this Monday coming, we will have a professor come and speak at our studio, and over Zoom, you can log in and participate, ask questions, and see what they're doing, different things that they've done and tried out. Those are things we want to make sure you get that human touch, you get involved with. And here is just a place to come and explore. So I'm not going to hold you up anymore. We really want you to be able to actually log into the machines that we have, and we have people eager to show you new things. So we're going to get that turned on and woken up, and we're going to get started doing some of those things. I'll take one last question if there is one, and then we're going to break and let you actually do things and eat the food so I don't. Any last question? Comment, complaint, or concern? So remember, one, you are thought leaders if you're in this room. Your colleagues are thought leaders if you're in this room. These things that are happening, we're here to help you with them and to actually have fun with it as well. The more you learn, the more you know, the more you can make informed decisions about what you want to do next. It's not about us telling you you've got to do this now. It's about us saying this is the thing that is happening, and our two departments are here to support you as you travel this journey. You're not going through it alone. My name is Willie Freeman. Thank you for your time.